No, that's our goal, right? Is to reduce that friction for the customer. So, basically, just like getting an app on the car. I mean, you probably can explain this better than I can, but you just sign up for it in the car, and it's there, and the car becomes your wallet, and eventually it's more than just tolling, right? It's good for parking, and a lot of toll agencies are doing parking now too,
Doing
in other industries.
This episode is brought to you by CSG. CSG's SaaS solutions optimize every step of the tolling journey, from billing and payments to customer engagement, helping agencies maximize revenue through smarter, more integrated experiences. Make more, save more, and do more. Visit csgi.com.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Toll Talk Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kalie Jakovics,
And I'm Alex Fakeri.
and today we have two very special guests from North Carolina Turnpike Authority, also known as NCTA. We have JJ Eden, the Executive Director, and Manish Chourey, the CTO. Welcome.
Hey, guys.
Hey, thank you.
Hello.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you. Well, JJ, you back on the show, and Manish, it's great to have you on the show. So, Manish, is this everything you thought it would be, being on a podcast? Were you excited, nervous? I know JJ likes to, keep you focused and like razor sharp. Are you good with this type of distraction?
I'm going to try this one. I'm more of a technology nerd who likes to be behind the scene, trying to work this. But this is a good experience for me.
Oh, I'm
Great.
excited to hear from, the technology nerd.
Yeah. Well, this is a great episode because what's happening right now is in just a few short days, we're all going to be at IBTTA, right? And so this is the big technology summit, and we were so happy to be kind of talking with you guys about this. But the big discussion that's taking place, you hear it on Toll Talk often, the customer journey, but I think we're looking at the customer journey in a way no one has before. Like there's been light nods and discussions, but this is a little something different. So, JJ, why don't you share with us what are we looking forward to at this tech summit?
I think we focus on the customer all the time. I mean, technology changes. We never do tech for tech. And in this particular case, there's a lot of stuff going on with the transponder right now. It's an older technology. We changed in the past from the box transponder to the sticker, and the customer still has to go get it and things like that. And about a year and a half ago, I got a call I was actually talking at a conference to some of the people from MasterCard, and they called me later and they said, would you be interested in doing a pilot? The car companies, there's some pain points from the car companies too. So from the customer side, you have to go get a transponder, sign up, put it in the car. There was the old change them back and forth between cars if you want. Then you went to the sticker, and then if you change cars, you left the sticker in the car, and then the wrong person got billed. All kinds of customer pain points
A lot of
on the
Yeah.
on the original. And then we were a little surprised to see the pain points were similar on the car side.
Yeah.
So where they have to cut the windshield, right, in order to be able to on the newer cars because of the film they put on to cut the heat load, especially in the south. So that's something extra they have to do. So on the average car now, there's like 32 RF devices in the car between all the sensors and everything else. And now we add another one that they don't have control over, right? They don't know what that frequency is going to be in the backscatter and all that stuff. So the timing, everything comes together. I always say, we were the first to do all electronics in North Carolina. We were the first to do video, right? We transitioned all that stuff. We were the first to do multi-protocol, right? And it was all because of the pain points we were seeing with the customer, right? And now this one is going to eliminate some more of those pain points. So I talked to Manish because technically, we've never invented anything, right?
Sure.
What we've done is got the right people in the room to talk to each other. And in this case with the car, we were able to get, fintech, finance side, the automotive industry and the technology group. We have Red Hat and Microsoft as team members too with Cognizant, and very strong tech team combined with a very strong finance team too. And we're talking to other car companies too. The very strong representation on the automotive side. So and really the timing is just happened to be right.
Yeah. So, in all of this, just to kind of package it up, I mean, this is now the next evolution in transportation, right? Where we're now looking at not just, I should say, there's so many different, inventions that have made driving a car easier, but now we're talking about, hitting at a level where it becomes this frictionless type of experience for customers. Is that fair to say, or is that a little too ambitious?
No, that's our goal, right? Is to reduce that friction for the customer. So, basically, just like getting an app on the car, Manish probably can explain this better than I can, but you just sign up for it in the car and it's there, and the car becomes your wallet, and eventually it's more than just tolling, right? It's good for parking, and a lot of toll agencies are doing parking now too,
It's doing
and other industries.
It's funny. I was in preparing for the show, as I was going back and looking at different technologies and how people reacted the first time they talked about the internet, or the first time they talked about using a credit card at a convenience store. It was this alien thought. Like, what do you mean you'd use a credit card at a convenience store to buy a stick of gum? But the truth is, it's not so much it's the convenience, right? It's that what's good for us, which is an interesting conversation. So, Manish, when this kind of came to be, I guess what I'm kind of curious about from your side is, how did you look at this opportunity to, look at frictionless payment, or, in vehicle payment? Because that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, working in the tolling industry for so long, I've seen people struggle with certain things, and especially things like installing. How do you install a transponder? How
Mm.
do you make a payment? Which toll road am I driving? Which website do I need to go and make payments? So we were looking at a solution which will make it easier from the customer from driving in the vehicle, have the ability to just link the vehicle to the credit card, have it all secure, and then the customer is free to drive through any roadway, and the tolls will get charged to them. So having that link between a vehicle and a credit card essentially tied that together, and that opens up a whole new way of e-commerce.
Yeah.
And the app which runs on the car is an app which is not like a general app which you have to turn on and off. It runs behind the scene, always running and measuring your activities where you need to make payment. So when we're talking about it, okay, how do I get OEM and a fintech to work together? And the goal was we wanted to be open standards. We do not want, again, a different OEMs having a different app and making customers, which app do I need to choose when which roadway I'm using? How do you make sure the transactions are secure in the cybersecurity era where people are taking fraud opportunities anywhere? How do we ensure that the vehicle which drove through that roadway is the vehicle which needs to be charged? So thinking about security, thinking about customer, and then the ease of tracking all the time was the three things which we chose while building the solution.
Wow.
That's very interesting. So you're going to be doing this type of demo experience at the Tech Summit, is that right?
Yes, this Monday on May 4th and 5th, you would be invited and you would see a Volvo vehicle, because Volvo is the first OEM which is participating with us in this integration, and you would be able to see that you drive through a virtual gantry, and within seconds apart, you will see that transaction hitting your MasterCard credit card. So that's the
Wow.
end-to-end flow, which is not something which is not secure, right? It's not something which we have just built for this demo. It is a fully functioning, working solution.
Oh, that's going to be,
So it's here.
yeah, that's going to be very
Yep.
cool for people to see. And we'll drop the link where people can sign up and kind of, take their ride, their tour, and see how that works. So, And what else are you guys doing? I know there's some sessions and other things coming up at the Tech Summit that you're featured at.
Well, I guess I'll go first. I'm doing a general session at the end, and there's some high-end people, cool people that have worked with us on this. We have, the North American head of Volvo, Jim, is going to be in this session, and executive vice president from Mastercard is with me. So we brought kind of the brain trust of the people
Oh,
that are trying to bring this together from all the different industries, into one format. And our idea is not only to make it a conversation between
mhm.
us, and hopefully we'll have enough time at the end for some audience participation too. So we want to hear the feedback. I'm always big on walking before we run and getting some, feedback because it avoids the problems later.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have to ask JJ. So your past includes a big part of your past is Easy Pass, right? A big part of your past is Easy Pass. Wow, you didn't get caught in
Say
that
that fast,
one.
yeah.
Exactly. But you have you've seen a lot, and just as Manish as well. You guys have been in the industry a long time. You've learned a lot of things. With this type of program and your agency now leading the charge in this effort, I guess. What have been your lessons learned as you look into this new opportunity to, you're going to this effort, you're putting in this demo, you've got these great partners. I think you said Red Hat, Volvo, MasterCard, Microsoft, the list goes on and on. So I guess what is your strategy this time to help the world realize that this potential technology is going to change and get those partners on board?
So the first, we're concentrating on the agencies, and Manish can talk about how they'd be able to easily sign up and the open APIs and things we've done. But is you know the easy part into this is the biggest pain point that people complain about all the time is for payments out of a car is two things. One is tolling, and the other one is parking, right? Whether it's street parking or garage parking, and obviously there's others. And you know, as we looked at it, look, go back to when we did Easy Pass. There was opposition to Easy Pass, right? It will never work. Privacy, we're radiating you, all that stuff back in the day. And then when we did all electronic, right? uh, we were first to do it, and it was like it will never work. You're going to lose your butt on, on the, you're not going to be able to collect all the revenue, and now everybody's doing it, right? When we did video because of that problem with, the potential leakage, right? We built it into the model. And then with the multi-protocol, when 6C came around, there was actually people that threatened to sue us over that, and it was said it would never work. It was going to interfere with each other, but we just kept pushing forward. We knew that that was the right way to go, right? And we knew that that was going to be a game changer for tolling. And I realized that it's a hard change for people. Tolling's a very conservative industry. We're a government agency running a kind of private sector business under the same realm, and it gets a little convoluted sometimes. But, you know, in order to survive, we have to keep changing. If we were still had toll collectors and toll booths during COVID, I know in North Carolina, we probably wouldn't be in it would have been a problem, right?
Yeah.
So we have to move like every other industry with the technology, and between this and AI right now, we're in a major technological disruptive time for a lot of things. And you know, but the next generation, which we are programming for too, besides for just my generation, right? We have to be able to go with what they want, well, what they're doing and where we're going. So, we always look at that again, staying customer focused, not necessarily, our need focused or technology focused in order to deliver what, we think will be the next big thing.
Yeah, so always evolving, always changing, being that trendsetter. I like that. I guess how are your customers reacting to the changes? Like, is it positive? Are they loving it? I guess walk us through kind of what you're seeing.
Well, at least the initial conversations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could start and Manish could talk to because the customer focus is under him. But, I'll give you a couple examples. I had one agency call me and they bought a couple of Volvos already in order to be able to test.
Okay.
I was at a wine tasting on the weekend at a club I belong to, and somebody came up to me and goes, "Hey, I heard about this in-car. There's been a little media in here." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I have a Volvo. Can I text you my information?" So it there is some hype around it. So one of the local trade journals that just publishes in local counties here, they actually did some articles on it. It's just, so I think it's exciting for people. It releases a lot of that pain point of having another account, right? And stuff like that. It goes right to your credit card, which you're going to pay anyway.
Yeah.
And for the agencies, it takes a lot off that backside of trying to run another, account system for, a specialty item.
I think from the customer journey perspective, not only the in-vehicle payment which we are doing, but we are also looking to upgrade our systems. One of the complaints which we have always heard from that, why do you have systems, deploy a new system and then do not have refreshes for years? And one of the challenges which I've heard and seen that it's a lot of difficulty to upgrade the systems. And so we've been looking at it, not only doing the solutions for the in-car stuff, but also how do we make sure that another new thing tomorrow which comes up doesn't require 6 years for us to deploy. So we are building open API standards, and we are open to issue that standards, which is how does a back office system would really work? How does a new phone system add on to it? How does a chatbot or chat capabilities be added? And especially we are fortunate in North Carolina, we are very fortunate to have universities here with a lot of younger population coming in, requiring us to have a very different way of communication.
Yeah.
It's not the phone system. It's not just the website. They are looking for a very easy chat and at any time which they are using it. It's not that they have to get to a customer agent between 9 and 5. So the customer demands with regards to how we want the systems is changing a lot. And we need to, as the tolling agencies, need to have systems which can upgrade without needing 5 years to upgrade them. So that's one of the other things which we have been incorporating in our systems going forward.
That's something. Kalie, as I was sitting here and thinking to these guys here, there are two names. I don't know who's going to like this or not, but there are two names that came to mind, and I think thinking Jobs and Wozniak. The guys over at Apple starting up the vision, and you got both sides of the powerhouse driving something home but it was really about customer experience, right? It was a different way. Going to draw a parallel there, it was a different way of engaging the customer in a way that hadn't been done before, but they didn't have an open system. So, and as a Mac person, as you can see, we love our Macs, but I will say that, they had a different approach on that, but that kind of brings me back over to another great innovators like Elon Musk, everything with SpaceX, everything is open. Right? You guys want it? Take it. Go do something with it. So I love that, idea of thinking differently and saying, how do we kind of roll this out? How do we promote a good standard, right, for everybody, but yet grow it there? So I guess as I think about your pursuit of that customer journey, I guess the question is, do you think about all the technology that your success here is more, and I think you mentioned a little bit about this, JJ, is more about the innovative approach or the execution of the idea that you're looking at here?
It's always execution. You could have a lot of innovative ideas, but if you can't execute it and it doesn't fit, the public and it's not something that they want, it's not something that they need, right? Then you need to. You mentioned Apple, so Apple's approach originally was the public didn't know what they wanted. And then they came up with the iPod rather.
Yeah.
So they developed it, and we've done that a little bit with Easy Pass initially. But I think in this case we're looking at what is the next journey? What is the next thing that people want? What are the pain points they have in our current system, and how do we fix it? Right. So and we're trying to do it a piece at a time, and looking at, as Manish said, not only this system going forward, but what else is out there? There's a lot of AI in this particular thing that we're doing too, and
Yeah.
you can't even keep up with that. And I just spoke at Smart City in Florida, and a lot of other agencies, state agencies and things like that from around the country were there. And there's a lot of pain point in this in technology in general and implementing it. It's advancing so fast, that and the state procurement laws are so tight,
Yeah.
by the time you procure it, it's too late, right? You're already a version or two behind. So we're trying to make this easy to implement, so that people can just, and when you can talk about open APIs and stuff, turn it on and try it. Right?
Yeah.
We're going to be going to agencies and say, go get 100 customers. We'll help you find them from Volvo and other car companies. Try it, see if we like it, right, and then grow it from there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Now, I'm doing a session on Monday about V2X and what we are doing with vehicle to X with regards to the hardware solution in the vehicle and talking to an RSU. Now, what we are seeing is the hardware technology is there, but people are moving more and more towards the software solutions. I mean, like a good example of it was we have 485 roadway, we have CCTV camera feeds coming in. We put in a layer over it, which can detect incidents in the vehicle. And so without needing any additional hardware, we were able to do the safety use cases or start exploring those use cases. So having that ability to be open and have the features which are easily deployable is the new way to do it. And I always hear that, right? If everybody wants an iPhone every year, why should a customer not expect the same thing from a tolling agency, which is also for customer service?
Yeah. And for a lot of people, it's used almost as often. I mean, you get people commuting and going all over the state. I mean, this is important, especially, I'm curious as when it gets to the point of interoperability across state lines, going across, and seeing that synergy across it. So
now a message from our sponsor.
The business of tolling is complex. Trusted by the world's most respected brands, CSG transforms every customer interaction, communications, billing, payments, and more into a smarter, more profitable outcome. Make more, save more, do more. CSG, solving tolling's toughest challenges simply.
I guess, when a program like this comes about, it's going to be, I'm just kind of curious about the communication aspect of it, right? How does it are you pushing this out as your main message, or, how do you avoid it being an afterthought, right? Because this is some groundbreaking technology that's going to change a lot of the customer journey, which is, very, very important. But I'm kind of curious as to, what is your strategy when you look at communicating this out to the world, and what's the timeline look like?
So Manish can talk to the timeline, right? But I'll talk a little bit to, the overall strategy is, we want to walk before we run, right? So we're going to have agencies test it and hopefully grow it from there across the country. And then we'll look at expanding into other verticals, like parking and things like that. I mean, we've had a lot of calls from parking authorities and parking people that run the large parking garages. And then look at other things going forward. I think in general, the public will be excited about this. You talk about interoperability.
Yeah.
You're in North Carolina, you drive in Florida, you don't know if it works, right? But if it's on your MasterCard or Visa or whatever, that works everywhere, right? So it's the same type of thing. So now it's just to your credit card. So it has that mindset that my credit card works everywhere, so this should be fine, right? So
from the timeline perspective, I think we have just, as you would see out there, we're demonstrating a fully end-to-end working solution. Mm-hmm. Now, the next part of it is in the quarter 3 of this year, we are going to try and identify a few users on North Carolina roadways. And then subsequent to that, we'll find other tolling agencies which may be open to having their gantries act as a virtual gantry for us. So we'll, as JJ has always preached to us, is that slowly walk slowly before you start running. So we're gonna do it slow. And you know what? One thing which we always say, and JJ always says us, that if you do it, you are not gonna always 100% succeed. There will be new things which we'll be understanding. I mean, there will be new use cases which we need to learn. And so this solution is the first version of it. There will be multiple versions of those. What happens? And there are scenarios. What happens if my car gets a new software upgrade?
Yeah.
How does it work? How does the user, husband driving his car and tomorrow wife is driving the car, whose credit card it's going to use? I mean, there are a series of use cases which are going to come into play. And I think with the first version which we do, we're going to learn some more. And next year, probably it would be a full-blown system. And a lot depends that we hear the customer wants it.
Yeah.
And it's the customer's adaptability of that solution is also important. So communication and getting them onboarded with the understanding is the key for us to make this successful.
Well, and I think there's so many aspects of this that, like you're saying, you're going to discover new facets of it, new ways to approach the problem, things that are going to be discovered. But that whole customer journey is, I mean, I think there's going to be so many people affected by this, like in a very positive way. It's going to open up new innovations in other sectors. So whether you're talking about vendors that deal with print, or you're talking about the gantries, or you're talking about any of the roadside aspects of it, there's going to be so many aspects of the industry that are going to be impacted by this in such a positive way. I mean, we're potentially looking at, literally the landscape of the roadsides looking much different, right? Even to, where does it continue to grow and spawn there, new ideas and innovations for this customer journey, how they're communicated with about the transactions. So I think this is really, and this is why I was excited to have you guys on as part of this little, newly spawned mini series here about this customer journey, because I think it demands a really raw conversation about what are we going to do and why are we doing it? Not just, it's just some cool technology, right? It's not just some sort of AI thing. It's a cool term to use. And so to me, that kind of says, when you're looking at the customer journey, I don't know if Kalie wants to chime in on this, but it's, to me, who's going to help you do it? Who are going to be your partners? How are you going to pull this off? I mean, what do you think, Kalie?
Yeah, the importance of, you've got to take those necessary steps to fully execute. And when you have these new programs rolling out, you have to find the right partners. I mean, what does that look like for you guys, and the importance of that search and that partnership?
I think we started pretty well with the pretty strong, both fintech and technical solution partners on our side, and the car, obviously the car companies. But looking at the future, I mean, you talked about the things that may happen. Just look at on the call it a parking or toll side, whichever.
Yeah.
If there's a big event someplace, I was working with one of the big sport teams after trying to help them out after the World Series, and they had a hard time moving traffic out of their lots, right, and things like that. And they would rather have some other technology. Could you imagine if this is just GPS enabled, using the VIN of the car instead of a transponder, unique number, that they could just take this open ground lot and geofence it?
Wow.
And make it parking to handle an event at that point, or anything like that, or anything special. Or you're driving in the future, and this is probably a few years out, and you're hungry, and you just say to your car, "Hey, I'm hungry. Is there any fast food places around?" And said, "Yeah, there's one about 3 miles away." And it pops up the menu, and you say, "Well, I'll take a number 2 with the Coke." And as you're driving to that restaurant, it tells the restaurant you're close, and when you pull up to the drive-through, it hands you your food, charges your account, and there's no interaction.
Wow. That's
something to think about.
That's honestly, that's amazing. I mean, and you talk about frictionless. I mean, like
Right.
that's, I'm sorry to be cheesy, but that is innovation. I mean, that is, it's it's more so an innovative way of doing things, not necessarily, I think to your point of creating a new technology. I mean, it's packaging up in a way that makes better sense, more sense for the customer. So, I mean, yeah, the throw up a geofence on parking or pay for your food or, kind of makes me wish there were more drive-in theaters back in the
Well,
day.
now I'm thinking like, why haven't we done that yet?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think the solutions which we have, I mean, we the partners, when choosing the partners, it was important that we need the partners who all are ready to experiment with us. A little bit of OEMs had to partner here. The fintech was ready, the tolling agencies were ready, and a system integrator trying to build a system end to end. And so it was important to find the partners. And the best thing is that we could use some of for the V2X deployment, which we did in North Carolina on our roadways, we use our existing vendors who were ready to share the risk. There
Mm,
is a cost of
yeah.
doing all this. So we need a partnership all across, including our tolling roadways. So I think together making that ecosystem is important to deliver any new type of solution. And for me, I say is the technology is there. Like JJ says, we got to get the people together in a room and get
yeah,
it done. And so that's what is happening here.
yeah. Well, thank you for being some leaders on the forefront of that. And we do have just a few minutes left. I feel like we have so much more to talk about, but I do want to hear kind of before we wrap, looking ahead at the customer journey. I guess what is one big or major change or shift that you would see or say is coming in the next 3 to 5 years?
So I think in-car payment's going to be a big deal on our side. The other thing that's scary and exciting at the same time is all the innovation around AI. I mean, we're using a lot of AI in this particular thing too, but as Manish, and you can expand on a little bit more. AI is going to have a major impact, whether it's in the programming of these systems or whether it's in the implementation and the back office operation of these systems. It's going to pull us in. Overall, I think it's going to make the customer journey much easier, much more simplified. You're not going to have to think about whether anything works here or doesn't work there. It's all going to be together. So as in our case, as you drive from, Pennsylvania to Florida, you just drive through other states and it works. If you want to stop at a restaurant or park at a garage, it's already built into your car, right? So you don't have to go, well, that's this parking app, but do I have it? And then this toll system, do I have it? You don't. Now it's all in one. So and then, as Nish said, doing it with software instead of hardware, you're able to change quickly as technology changes. We've seen technology change so fast in the last couple of years.
Yeah. And just like I will say that not everybody is going to get on board. There are naysayers about this. They're saying, oh, well, the solution is going to be 20 years apart from today. But remember, when we build as a tolling agency, when we are building the infrastructure, we're not thinking of infrastructure for next 1 year. We're thinking for long term. So we have to think about it today and start implementing, taking baby steps, not wait for the 20 years when every car would be differently built. I mean, so I think one of that is very important that we don't see that it's a solution which is not there today. And from overall perspective, from the driver's perspective, make it easy for them to use the system, drive the system. And it's just we have to think of from a customer perspective how we can make it easy for them.
That's great. So, I definitely, as we're wrapping now, I definitely want to say that this conversation is going to continue, as part of the first session of this mini series. We're going to have a couple panels coming up. So we definitely want to invite you guys back, to continue the conversation, to roll up the sleeves and talk nitty gritty, right? Real details and logistics from multiple vantage points. We'll bring in some other people, but what to get the conversation going, everybody's going to come to IBTTA. It's going to be a big event. Let's let them know when these sessions are. Manish, let's start with you. What time and day is your session?
My session is on May 4th, which is Monday at 1:30,
Okay.
talking about V2X, our pilots and V2X. Along with us is the vendors who implemented the solution,
Right.
and which is CAP, Indra, and Wadi, who participated in our demo, our pilots. And I think one of the things which we are going to try and get across to everybody is the solutions which we are doing is with the openness and interoperable. And that's the reason we had two different vendors participate on our pilots to make sure the systems are interoperable. So that's
great.
what I'm going to talk about, and the challenges which we face in our upcoming, I would say the frequency grab which is happening, and
Right.
so on. So how do we get it to be lighter infrastructure in the system, across the systems? So we're going to talk a little bit of that, and how are we getting prepared for the next evolution of the systems.
Okay. Speaking of which, so you say evolution. I mean, I think you guys have a campaign going on right now. It's called In-Vehicle Evolution, correct? And JJ, is that your session that's coming up, or talk to a little bit about what you're speaking about?
Yeah, so we're talking about the evolution. As I said, we have, representatives from Volvo, from MasterCard on the session. Mike Italico from Illinois is moderating it. It's going to be a great session. It's going to talk about, how we're working together to move this technology forward, to move the customer experience forward. And, it's really interesting because the two partners that are on the stage with me in this particular instance are both focused on, customer journey. Volvo is very focused on customer journey. They're very safety oriented. It's all about the customer, and so is MasterCard, because they're out there competing for business on their side, right? So, it's actually it's my birthday. I decided to spend it there, May 5th. May 5th. That in the morning. Unfortunately, it's right after the event the night before, so I encourage everybody
Oh,
to
yeah.
still get up early, and it's going to be around 9 o'clock. There's a couple other things that happening first, so try to get there around 9 o'clock or earlier to come and
Monday,
see. It's going to be a great event. As I said, we're trying to open up the comments. If not, everybody is hanging around after the
Yeah.
session, so you'll be able to talk directly to the people from Volvo, from MasterCard, and others. There will be there, our staff on the technical side to talk about, your thoughts and concerns. So,
All right.
Great.
Well, as sponsors of the after hour party, we'll definitely have to we'll try to put a good word in for you or get it wrapped up early. But no, this sounds exciting. So Monday and Tuesday, big days in the afternoon and in the mornings. Be ready. We hope all our viewers who are watching right now will be there to check this out. And you also have the demos going on as well. So
Yep.
I'm sure it's going to be an exciting time.
Yep, and they brought one of the upper end Volvos, one of the bigger ones, so they could put more people in the car. So, try to sign up. We're anticipating that the demos are going to be pretty jam packed. So try to sign up early, so
Well, there
to
you go.
get there going. So, thank you,
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really
thank you.
appreciate it and your insights, and we hope to we'll definitely see you both
Yeah.
in the next couple days at the Tech Summit.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you so much. Thank you for doing these podcasts in general. They're really been helpful, I think, to the industry.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. We
Yes,
we
thank
definitely
you.
enjoy it,
It means a lot.
Absolutely. All
All
right. Well,
right.
Manish, JJ, guys, it was great having you. And we hope all of our viewers today have enjoyed this episode. Once again, we're trying to bring you some of the latest and greatest conversations that are taking place in this industry right now. And so if you want to stay current, you want to know what's going on as you're getting ready to go to an IBTTA event, or you're anywhere at any industry vertical where you see transportation is key, then we encourage you to tune in again and join us on our next episode of Toll Talk. I'm Alex Fakeri.
And I'm Kalie Jakovics.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.